Alright, today we're going to discuss how to find the slope of a line that's given 2 points. So we have these 2 points, x sub 1 and y sub 1, and x sub 2 and y sub 2. And the thing to notice that these are actually subscripts, these 1s and these 2s, and they're just used as, well, I guess we call them labels or identifiers. This is my first x value and this is my first y value. This is my second x value and this is my second y value. X sub 1 will always go with y sub 1 and x sub 2 will always go with y sub 2. So let's look at the example. We're given the 2 points, 2, -3 and -4, 1. And if you have easy points like this, you could just plot the points, 2, -3 and -4, 1, and you could find the slope of that line drawn through these points by going, well, we know slope is rise over run. I went up 1, 2, 3, 4, and my run was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to the left. So 4 over -6, which is just -2/3. You could say, hey, my slope is -2/3 of the line that goes through these 2 points. But you always want a mathematical way, because what if those points weren't so nice? What if I couldn't plot them? What if they were decimal points? And what we're going to use is the formula m is equal to the difference of the y's over the difference of the x's. And now you could have this as y sub 1 minus y sub 2, but if you do, you must also have x sub 1 minus x sub 2. All right? So what we want to do is go ahead and label these 2 points. This is my first x value, this is my first y value, this is my second x value, and this is my second y value, and we're just going to plug them in to the corresponding parts. So y sub 2 is 1, this minus sign is always going to be here, and my y sub 1 is -3. My x values are x sub 2 is -4 minus a 2, and we know 1 minus a -3 minus a negative turns into a positive. That's 4, and -4 minus 2 is a -6, which reduces to a -2/3. All right, so we have the same exact thing, 2 different ways to do it, and the second way, the way I just showed you, is going to be the better way and the easier way when you're dealing with large numbers. All right, let's take a look at 3 more examples. This first one here is we have -10,4 and 16,0, and what we're going to do is we're going to find the slope of the line that goes through those 2 points. So the first thing you want to do is just label them: x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, and just plug them into the equation. So we have 0 minus 4, right? M is equal to 0 minus 4 and 16 minus -10. 16 minus -10. 0 minus 4 is a -4, and 16 minus 10, -10 turns into a plus, which will be 26, and then this can be reduced to -2/13. Alright, so your slope is -2/13. Alright. For the second example, I actually went through and plotted the 2 points, 3, 1, and 3, -4, and I drew a line through them, and you can see the line goes up and down. It's a vertical line, and let's see what happens when we find the slope of this line. So we have x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. We have -4 minus 1 divided by, we have a 3 minus a 3. And you can see what's going to happen, and we'll have a -5 over a 0. And what do you know about dividing by 0 is that you can't do it. All right, there actually is, the slope is undefined. So you can write that if you want. Undefined. All right, and if you look at this line, it's actually not even a function. It fails the vertical line test. All right. So whenever your denominator is a 0, or you have a vertical line, you're going to have an undefined slope. All right. Let's take a look at this last example. I plotted the 2 points, -2, 5, and 7, 5, and you can see it forms a horizontal line. All right, and let's see what happens when we find the slope. We have a 5 minus a 5, so you see we're going to get a 0 in the denominator, and 7 minus a -2. 7 minus -2 will turn into a 9. All right, 0 divided by anything is 0, so your slope is just 0 whenever you have a horizontal line.